This week we get to peek over our metal worker's shoulder while he gets started putting together the first of Arabella's 3 stainless steel water tanks. Don't forget to click the like button for us and check to make sure you're subscribed so you can follow the boat's journey to the water and beyond.
So it's been a couple weeks since Evan from MS Fabrication in Dorchester came out and we made the patterns for the tanks. So we've got one big one that goes under the settee cushions here, under the bunk, and then we have 2 farther aft. So one that we actually didn't make a pattern for is going to go back here low in the head against the bilge stringers, and that's going to form basically the shelf for the locker, and there will be a tank there. And then the other big tank is going to go underneath the nav table here. And how we're going to get the water from those tanks into the galley sink and into the sink in the head is with these little foot pumps. So these will get mounted onto the sole, and there's an adjustable inlet and outlet. Not really sure which is which, but you press the lever with your foot, it pumps the water. They're pretty simple, they're pretty bulletproof, and it's really nice because you have hands-free water when you're doing something at one of the sinks. So these are going to come from a pickup tank that we're going to put down here into the bilge. So some of these bronze floors are a little shorter, and I got to pull some measurements for Evan, and we're going to take the leftover stainless from making the big tanks and make a tank that fits in here. And then that way, the tank under the settee berth, the tank in the head, and the tank under the nav table can all just gravity drain to this with shutoffs, and then we'll be able to pick up out of that tank with the foot pumps and bring it up to the galley sink and to the sink in the head. And then those will gravity drain back to another tank in the bilge, which will be the wastewater tank, and that'll go overboard. So that's going to be the water system for the boat. Really sweet and simple. So we still have that one pickup tank to make, and then we'll have to do all the connections, but I'm really excited to get those tanks soon and work on getting them installed. So thank you so much, Evan. We really appreciate the help.
So while Steve was back in the boathouse working on the sole and fitting the fridge into the galley, as you saw in last week's episode, Anne and her pup May were in Dorchester, Massachusetts for a visit with Evan at MS Fabrication.
Hi. Hey.
How we doing?
Good. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to the shop.
The plan for the day was to get started on the long tank that will go under the settee.
So this is MS Fabrication, formerly Metalsmiths. We're making some tanks today.
Making some tanks today, man.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So this is our shear, 10-foot hydraulic shear. It's all our linear cuts. Here we have our iron worker that was just recently moved, and that's good for punching holes, cutting angle. Next to it is our dual bandsaw. And then if you come down this way, this is our 12-foot, 250-ton AccuPress press brake. That's what I do the majority of my bending in. We'll be using that a little later to make the body of the tanks. This is a 10-foot diacro press brake, 100-ton, and that's good for quick setups, getting in and out quick and dirty.
Doesn't have to be perfect, okay?
Yeah, I know.
We keep all our materials up here. We generally specialize in steel, stainless, and aluminum fabrication, a little bit of brass, a little bit of copper, and a little depleted because of the price of materials these days. But this actually is the stainless steel that we're going to be using today. It is 14 gauge 316L alloy stainless. That's marine grade stainless. So we'll be getting into cutting that up pretty soon. And then if we come down here, this is kind of the CNC area. This is a CNC punch. I don't have it turned on right now, but it's a pretty cool machine to see run. This is the water jet, which you'll be seeing. We're going to cut the body of this tank which you saw the templates before. This one tapers, so instead of shearing it, it'll be easier to lay it out, cut the profile on the water jet, and then bend it up. We'll put the top cap on and go from there. And then down here, this is our welding and fixturing table with our TIG welder, MIG welder. We'll be taking all of this stuff. I think it'll be a little cleaner and neater. And yeah, we'll get into it.
This table is so bomb.
It's sick. It was...
This is new for you, yeah?
Yeah, I had seen it in the catalog a long time ago, and my buddy recommended it, and I was like, once I had the money, that was definitely going down. So it's nice. It has all the... It comes with a pretty cool clamping package. So like, you can bolt everything up nice and square, make your own little fixtures and stuff like that as you're going. You can clamp down in the middle of the table anywhere you need. So this might actually turn into a Sigmund welding table commercial because I'm a huge fan of it. It was a big investment, and within the first 2 days of using it, I knew it was money well spent. You know, it's already making me money. So, and it makes my job more fun, which is important. So yeah, I guess we'll probably grab that template and we'll start drawing it up and go from there. Cool.
The pattern from the settee berth has a larger triangle at one end than the other, which means that Evan has to work in a couple of tapers into these pieces. It's basically just a two-dimensional program. He's going to be putting this in, and that's what it cuts. It cuts two-dimensional shapes: circles, squares, triangles. The water jet cutter is also going to cut all of the apertures for any of the fittings that go in, the vents, the nipples. And the inspection ports. The water jet uses both water and garnet sand. Garnet as in the birthstone, in order to be able to cut the material.
Don't do that. Don't do whatever that is.
So because it's two-dimensional, everything in this machine is based on XY axis. So as long as Evan has this sheet set where it's supposed to be, all the pieces will be cut as they're supposed to be cut.
Yikes! Yikes!
So I want to open that up.
The end closest to camera was spot on, but Evan needed to open up the other angle a little bit before moving on to tack welding the end caps.
Seems bigger once you actually see it like together.
It does
That's
seem
all.
bigger. It really does. I couldn't really see the taper before either, and now
Yeah.
I can really see it.
The next step was to cut out and fit the two baffles that will help keep the water from sloshing around too much. Above these will go the inspection ports, and Steve wanted these to be big enough so that he could fit his whole head inside to check the tank.
Evan's measuring at a couple of spots where he thinks they're going to work out well.
How big did we decide Steve's head was?
I should call him, but I mean,
I want to say we were going with like 12 inches, but that seems big for this tank. He
yeah.
might not be able to stick his head in this tank.
I mean, his head isn't too dissimilar from our heads, so I mean. That's cool. It's very cool. I love it.
Look like a tank.
Looks like a tank.
I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to weld these in permanently, and then once I can weld these out. Basically, once I weld this on, I'm not getting back in there. So
Exactly.
I'll make sure I've done it.
Right. Showing off these pretty welds. Besides the inspection ports, other details include these coupler fittings. The smaller one is for a vent, and this larger one is for the fill. And then using these for the outlets that will go to a day tank. These inspection ports will spend most of their lives being closed. And so a plate will go on the top, and they'll be fastened down with some machine screws. And there'll be a rubber gasket in between the two.
Today we got the SETI tank moving along. Made some really good progress on it. We got the baffles in, end caps on, the full shape. the top cap's going to go in pretty soon, and then it's just a little bit of fitting and then a lot of welding, some cleaning of the welds after. We'll take all the color off of these before I seal it up. And then we're going to put on all the fittings. And after that, we got 2 more to make up, and then the bilge tank, and yeah, some solid fabrication to go. But it's been a fun project. It's been nice to show people what I do every day. Not everybody gets to see this trade, so it's nice to show it to other people.
We'll be showing you the completed tanks when they arrive back to the boathouse for install soon enough, and next week you'll get a look at Steve's progress on the companionway ladder. But one more thing before we go. Occasionally, for the last year, a viewer here at Acorn to Arabella might have noticed a dignified, elderly Boston Terrier in our videos with good shop manners and a penchant for lying in a beam of sunlight. This sweet pup has always been an indication that not too far away, Anne must be around too. Greta Mae Bryant, ship's cousin aboard Mimi Rose and New Moon, died of heart failure on Saturday, January 8, 2022. In her 13 years and 10 months of life, she traveled faithfully with her wandering human. She accumulated about 4,500 nautical miles of sailing, living aboard, and visiting friends on the water. She was, for almost 4 years, the unofficial morale officer at Wooden Boat Publications, where she made her daily rounds to visit co-workers and lie about. She's well known by students there, who snuck pieces of ham to her from their sandwiches and knew she gave a good high five. She carried herself as a graceful emissary wherever she went, and so was a welcome dinner guest aboard more than a few Maine windjammers, and for the last 2 years served as resident boatyard dog at West Mystic Wooden Boat. She was a stalwart companion in boat shops. She gracefully tolerated long days at sea and relished in sunny anchorages. Hers was a life of adventure, most of it being in Penobscot Bay, Maine, but also along the Intercoastal Waterway. Along the eastern seaboard of the U.S., she visited over 100 islands and beaches and loved them all. She attempted to play with the wild horses at Cumberland Island, Georgia, walked the cobblestone streets at Fells Point in Baltimore, and explored the shoreline on Roke Island. She loved the feeling of running at full bore in loose sand, through tall grass and on long docks. She hated sweaters and instead preferred piles of blankets, and would scoot as close as she could to wood stoves. She was an ambassador, a comfort, and a friend. Of all the very good dogs on this planet, she was paragon among them. A lion's share of her ashes will be scattered in Eggenmoggen Reach under the Deer Isle Bridge just before a falling tide. The rest will be scattered by a bush where she once found a whole sausage after a regatta barbecue.
Greta May.